I'm not like a faker. Like it's very hard for me to pretend like I like you. You know, I'll be cordial and I'll be nice,
Mm-hmm.
but it'll never be like, you know, like super fake people that are like,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and then they turn around and they're like the complete opposite. I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
why? Like imagine how exhausting it would be to pretend to be someone else
Mm-hmm.
all the time.
That's horrible.
It is horrible. To me, I'm like, hey, I'm gonna be super professional with you, but like we're not gonna go anywhere after work or things like that. Like I don't want to have to pretend to do those things because I feel like I have to anymore, you know?
Yeah, no, that makes sense.
Just like events and things. I'm like, I just used to invite everybody and I'm like, you can't even really connect with the people you want to connect with because you feel like you have to invite all these extra people that probably won't be here a year from now or so. And now I'm like, I want to make me happy. I want to enjoy 30 minutes with Monse, with
Mm-hmm.
whomever is there at my events because we're connecting and we're bonding and actually
Yeah.
spending that
And
quality
there's
time.
nothing wrong with that. You just want to hang out with quality people that
Right.
respect you and respect your boundaries.
Right, right. But you know how people get. Hey everyone, welcome to Driven Ladies. I'm here today with a really, really special guest. Her name is Monserrat Torres, and I'm extremely fond of this beautiful, beautiful girl. As you guys can see, she's stunning. She's part of Ambiance Realty, which is one of our companies, and has a top producing team within our company. So Monserrat, thank you for being here today. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Syl, for having me. And I'm so grateful for the opportunity. And I'm super excited.
I know. We're going to talk about everything. So, today, there's a lot of things I want to know about you, and I'm sure the rest of our company and the world would like to know about you. And I've told you this before, but I really admire, your work ethic and just the way you carry yourself. It's very hard to find really, really hardworking people that don't take everything personally or aren't like most people are not straight up, and I
Mm-hmm.
appreciate the fact that you're like, just tell me, so what is it? Right, rather than like going around the bush or like trying
Right.
to soften the blow, and I love that about you. I think your work ethic is impeccable and it shows in your production, in the way you lead your team. And yeah, today I have a lot of questions to ask you, so you ready?
Yeah. Get all the tea.
So first and foremost, who is Monse? Where do you come from? How long have you been doing real estate? And nationality, because a lot of people in the company will be like, "Oh, she's so pretty," like I want to join this team or this team, and I'm
Yeah.
like, "Oh, join her team," because she's really an amazing example to follow. And I don't say this just because you're here. I've told you this before. You're literally amazing, Monse. Like your work ethic is second to none, and I love that because I'm the same. So where does Monse come
Mm-hmm.
from?
So I am originally from Culver City. And so I grew up in West LA my whole life. So if you want to buy in West LA, I'm your girl. Yeah, no, so I grew up in West LA my whole life. My mom is from Honduras. My dad is Salvadorian and Cuban.
Okay.
Yeah. And I speak fluent Spanish. Most people think I don't speak Spanish, which is weird.
You look definitely a different. I can tell you're
Yeah.
mixed, but what do you get a lot nationality wise?
Middle Eastern.
Right.
Yeah.
She looks exotic.
You get out of our podcast. Yeah, so amazing, and I know you have a story possibly similar to mine, that it wasn't the
Mhm.
easiest growing up, so I
Right.
feel like that makes you just more tough skinned. Like me, I don't really take too many things personally. I don't expect anybody to do anything for me. If there's something I can do to help someone, I help them, right? Like I come from a good place, but I also have very high expectations. With a lot of people have a hard time with that, and I'm like, no,
Yeah.
I'm not going to do it for you. You have to do it yourself. I'll tell you how to do it,
Yeah, yeah.
and I'll guide you.
Yeah.
But as far as, because I would say you're like the nicest but most straight up person that I know, and most hardworking. So like for me, I'm like, that's super, super, super important. And would you say growing up, was it rough? Was it easy? Did that have anything to do with the way you are now?
I think honestly, I think I was a pushover growing up.
Really?
Yeah. I used to get bullied when I was like 5 or 6. So I feel like I'm like, okay, I'm not gonna let people bully me.
Right.
Yeah. But I mean, now I feel like I'm like that just because I'm very like business minded. But at the same time, I don't, yeah, I'm the same way like you. Like, I just feel like everyone has a sad story. Okay, move on.
Right, right.
Yeah.
And don't let that really define you, because a lot of people let that be their story forever. Like they never become anything more than like what happened to us, or like me personally, I had a horrible childhood growing up. Like I used to get beat up couple times a week. Like it was bad. My stepfather was super abusive. And, like I don't blame my mom for it, but I'm like, I would never let anybody touch my kids. Like you touch my kids and you will literally die.
My stepdad was the same way.
It's so sad. I'm like, how
Yeah.
could, I look at my daughters now, like Italian Berlin, and I'm like, yeah, sometimes I lose my patience, but I'm not going to beat them.
Yeah, yeah.
And there are times that I remember and I'm like, man, like I was more embarrassed. Like I recall this one time. And I'll never forget, because even sometimes I have like nightmares about it. It was summer and I was the person who had to stay home with my brothers and my sisters while my mom went to work because she had to work.
Yeah.
So we grew up like in a 1-bedroom, 1-bath apartment, literally with
Wow.
like 8 or 9 people at times, like when my grandma would come and stay. That's crazy. So my mom couldn't afford a nanny, and I remember one time, because I lived in a condominium, so it wasn't even an apartment, and there's kids everywhere. And I remember we were hanging out, and then for some reason I looked outside and I can see my mom and him pulling up, and I was like, shit, hide in the closet. So 2 of our friends hid in the closet, and I don't even know what happened or why, but anyway, long story short, he like beat me up with the belt. And I remember I was like bleeding, and all I can think of is, oh my gosh, my friends are in the closet and they can see this.
Oh,
Like I remember like I was like
no.
bleeding, like it was coming down. And I don't even know, I'm like, what could have possibly have happened in like the 2
That's
minutes
that
that you
bad.
pulled up?
Yeah.
Yeah, right. But it was just crazy, and to think that people can do that to kids, right? And like to me, I'm like, I've never let it affect me, or like I know where I'm going. I've always known what I wanted. I knew I had to work super hard for my money. And as soon as I can get a job and I can get a car, that is the first thing that I did.
Right.
Right? So like, did you grow up poor? Like, how did you grow up?
Well, my mom was a single mom, so she would work most of the time, but I think who really raised me was my aunt. So she's a little bit older, so of course, like careless. But she did with the best what she could, the information she had. So I mean, I'm very grateful for that. But my mom did get married, so I did have an abusive stepdad too. So I was like around 6 or 7.
Right, same.
And then my mom would go to work or do something, and then I would stay with him. And yeah. And then I had a stepsister. My mom would buy me clothes, and he would tell me, like, no, you have to wear the ugliest clothes. Yeah.
How sad. That is so sad.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it really does make you stronger. And as far as me, I'm concerned, for me, it was just like, okay, I really want a better life. It was never like I can't wait to grow up so I can get out of here, so I can leave, right?
Yeah, I was the same way too.
But are you an only child, or you have brothers and
No,
sisters?
so yeah, for my mom's side, so I have my little brother Daniel, and then my dad had like other 4 kids with different women.
Wow. But
That's
they didn't
another
live with
story.
you?
No, never. Yeah.
Got
I
it.
met them till I was like 19. So
Got it.
yeah.
So I'm the oldest of 5. So that's like, literally, I was like a mom, and I
Mhm.
wasn't really a mom. So it's just crazy to think, like I had to be so strong for them,
Mhm.
because they were like my little babies, and I took care of them on summers and all the time. If they got sick, I was home from school taking care of
Oh
them.
my god.
It's crazy, right? And I talk about this, maybe you guys have heard before, but like my mom would always leave $10
Yeah,
every
I
day.
know.
And then I would have to figure out, like, okay, what are we eating today? Is it going to be dollar tacos from Jack in the Box? Is it going to be the $5 pizzas from Little Caesars? Like,
That's crazy.
and to think of making all these decisions when you're 12 years old is kind of crazy to put on I was a kid, but I really do believe that really made me like a really tough person, and also very caring, because I was always trying to protect my brothers and my sisters, because someone that's that troubled, that can abuse kids like that, they have their own. No, I'm not saying it's okay, but they went through their own story and their own
Yeah,
shit.
yeah.
So for me, I'm like, I want to make sure that they're okay, that they feel good, that I'm taking care of them. So that's really why I wanted to have a job and work and get my first car and do everything for them,
Mhm.
So that was super important to me. So why did you go to college? Did you just get into real estate? Like, what was your motivation, to like, how
Well,
did you get into real estate?
yeah. So I mean, I shared on the other podcast, but yeah, but I mean, I did real estate because I guess like I just wanted an escape, like something different, change my life. At that point, it's like survival mode. Like,
Right.
yeah. So like that's why I was like, oh, let me see what's the quickest thing I can make to make money, and of course something that I like too, and I don't require to go to college, because I had friends that would go to college, which is no wrong, like if you go to
Right.
college, but I just saw how long it would take them and they wouldn't make as much money.
Mhm.
And at that point I'm just trying to figure out, okay, how can I survive if I have to take care of my brother?
Right.
Yeah.
And so you were responsible for him, basically.
Yeah, and then my aunt is old. Like, what is she gonna do? Like, it's just crazy because the other day I was having a conversation. I was like, I don't know, how was I 16, 17, like paying all the bills at the house? And then she was like, yeah, I don't know how you did it. I'm like, I don't know. Like, you just find a way. It's like survival mode.
Yeah, yeah. Like, you just find a way and then you just do it.
Yeah, and
that's
you
all
just don't give
know.
yourself excuses. And I think that's why I always like that's why I don't understand when people say they're gonna do something in their business and they don't.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And I think it's very common, though, people that just kind of let themselves off the hook easily. See, even for me, my grandma and my mom, they were like, oh, college, and I actually missed a scholarship by like a vote. It was something, I don't know what my life would have been if I would have went to college, but it just wasn't for me. I went one day, I had to check it out, and I was like, oh, I don't like this, right? It was El Camino in Torrance or
Oh my
Hawthorne.
God, I went there too. I
Yeah.
was gonna go to school there.
Right.
Yeah.
I went to something for like a day and I was like, oh yeah, this is not gonna. I didn't really like school that much. But I was like, what do I do? And I felt so horrible when I didn't get the scholarship, because I'm like, man, now my chances of becoming someone are probably over, right? So the first thing that I did was I decided to just get a job. Like, I just got a job, and my first job was at Denny's, being a host. But then when I saw how much money the waitresses would make, like in tips, I'm like, I want to make tips. So then, I started
Yeah.
like serving coffee and ice cream and being super nice to them and welcoming. And that's where I think I got my people skills from, just like dealing with a lot of people. But I did feel horrible about not going to college, because I always wanted to be rich. Like, I wanted to be able to afford nice things. All my cousins had the nicer clothes, like a boombox with like the CDs for NSYNC. I still remember my cousin Jackie, and I would be so jealous, but the good kind of jealous. Like, I'm like, man, like, I wish I had
I
those
hope one
things.
day I could have that too.
Right.
Oh.
And so like I just kept working and working, and then got into real estate. So for me, it was like, I just want to be rich, and I love houses. I love beautiful things, and I don't like living in a 1 bedroom, 1 bath. It's like with all those people, we were very close together. We still are, but I always wanted like my own room, like a door that I can close, even if it was like a small room.
It's the little things. It's
Right,
crazy.
right. The things that other people take for
Yeah.
granted,
Yeah.
But again, everybody has their own story and their own life. And to me, I was like, I'm gonna be happy. Like, I'm still a happy person. I always had my grandma who like protected me from like everything, but I think I wouldn't say a pushover. Like, I kind of got along with everybody, but I did get picked on a little bit. Like, I didn't have a sister to look up to help me with like my makeup, so I was like an ugly duckling. It's so sad. So I did my best to like be girly or whatever, but it's always hard when you're the oldest. You kind of have to figure everything out on your
Yeah,
own.
that's true.
So, but yeah, I mean, real estate. So let's talk real estate, because I know obviously now we have a company, and it's very hard to get people that are brand new like going as far as production goes and getting introduced to the industry. But I know your first year was kind of rough, right, in real estate.
Super hard.
Once you became licensed, how old were you? I know you've been in the industry 6 years.
So I was like, I think I was 22, almost
So
22.
you just said real estate, got licensed.
Yeah, and it took me 3 times to take that test, girl.
Really?
I failed so many times. I was like, God, is this for me? But I'm like I said, I survival mode. I'm like, no, I have to do it. What else am I gonna do?
Right.
Yeah.
And real estate, really, the test, you don't use much of that information.
Yeah, at all. I was. Like, I would see girls come out crying, like, that are lawyers. I'm like, not even pass the test. I'm like, shit, I didn't even go to school. How the hell am I going to pass this test?
Right.
Yeah.
So how did it go? So you got licensed. You passed after 3 times.
And then just did a lot of open houses, wanted to join a team. And they told me that I wasn't cut for the team because they had a certain criteria. But I think it didn't have to do criteria because they had like they had like a certain race on their team.
Got it.
And I was a Latina trying to get in, a team that it's in Marino del Rey. So you get the point.
Yeah. You were like, okay, yeah, this isn't going to work. But then what happened? You went in there, did your own, you were a solo agent.
Yeah, solo agent. So I did want to like get guidance from someone. And then I
Right.
did have a mentor that from KW, but the lady wasn't even licensed in California. She was licensed in Texas. So that didn't go anywhere. So I mean, I did get like my first client supposedly, and the listing agent was kind of guiding me, but of course, how can I really trust him?
Right.
And then at the end, the client really didn't qualify. I thought she qualified for 500,000. She only really qualified for 250.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
That's awful.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like I did a lot of bitch work, I say.
Right. And so did I. You would be surprised on all the bitch work I did.
I would drive all the way to Bakersfield just to make $1,000.
For a showing?
No, like just to a deal that closed. Because KW would take so much money.
Right. All of it, mostly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So how long did it take to close your first deal?
I think like a year.
A year?
Realistically, now that I think about it, a year.
So how did you
Survive?
Survive, yeah.
Well, I would work. So I would work at an insurance company, and then the guy would pay me $9 an hour. But it was like commission. So I would tell people like, oh, now let's pay in full your policy. So at the end of the week, I would make like extra $500 because I was so good at selling.
Got it.
Yeah.
Got it. So then you always had like gas money to kind of jumpstart your career.
Not all the time, to be honest. When I went full time, no. Yeah.
No?
Mm-mm.
It was hard, right?
Hard. Yeah. And then my mom was like, oh my God, why are you doing this? Like, you had more money now. Like, no, don't do this. Like, at the
Right.
beginning. But then after she tells me, I never told you, but when I would see your open house signs, I would pray for you and I would put my hand over the sign and please God, help her sell.
How cute. It worked.
Yeah.
Thank you. That's funny. No, same thing. And I think a lot of realtors, or people that get into the industry, especially now, it looks easier than what it actually is, right? And I think being consistent with where you're going and what you're doing is so important, because there was a lot of times that I sat in my car and I was like, man, what am I doing? Like, what am I doing? Because all I
Yeah.
did was waitress and bartend before I completely got into the industry, because I met Albert and I'm like, what do you do? And he's picking up these $19,000 checks. I'm like, never seen so much money all together at once. It was amazing. So I'm like, I've always wanted to get into real estate. And long story short, he introduced me to someone. But I remember like those days where, I mean, God has always taken care of me. I really, really believe that, because I've always been a good
Same.
person. Things always worked out at the end, even like to the point where I literally had no gas. I had no clue how I was going to get home. And I'm in South Central and I'm there and I'm like, shit, what am I going to do? And I'm trying to see if my card will go through. And then this random guy,
That
he has
happened
this-
to me before.
he has his company car. He's like, oh yeah, I just came to drive. And I'm always friendly. He's like, I just came to fill it up or whatever. He's like, if you want gas. And I was like, really? And he's like, yeah. And I remember he filled up my gas tank with a
Wow.
company card. I mean, it's not the most ethical thing to do, but he offered. I was like, okay,
Yeah.
let's do it. And I was able to get home. It was by USC,
Oh, okay.
like in downtown,
Yeah.
right there on Figueroa. And I'll never forget that. And things like that, like in my first year, I met an investor. His name was Eli. Super, super awesome guy. I did a lot of deals. I don't know if I wouldn't have met him. I mean, I probably would have still kept going, but if I would have been as successful as I was
Wow.
my first year, because I did get listings from him, and I'm the type of person, and I think you're probably the same way. If I don't know, I make it up and then I figure it out later.
That's what happened to me.
Right.
My first deal.
Really?
Yeah. Well, not my first one. It was my second one. So I did an open house, and basically it was a Thursday, I remember. And I saw this guy comes in, like this Hispanic guy. He's like, "Oh, I want to buy a property. I want to flip." He's like, "I constantly flip." I'm like, "Oh, I know this property in Watts, girl." And then I was like, he's like, "Okay, like tell me why it's a good deal." And I'm like doing all the numbers. I'm like, "Oh yeah, I mean, I didn't even know how to run comps." I'm like, "Oh, I just saw what had sold." I'm like, "Yeah, paint it like this, paint it like that." He's like, "Wow, your advice is really good and it sold." But like I pretended. But now he tells me like, "Oh, I know that. You didn't know, but I'm so proud of you." He calls me like, "You've gone so far." Yeah. But it's because I was super nice and like, you know, I wanted to help him. He saw that I was hungry.
You had the initiative.
Yeah, so I would do open houses. I was hungry.
Right. I only did open houses Monday through Sunday, which is crazy. That's where I met Eli. And I remember I didn't even know, what's an REO? What's this? And so lesson learned here, even if you don't know, you do your best. And me personally, I'm always paying attention because I never know when I'm going to need the information. So I absorb basically everything and kind of store it.
Yeah.
You know, and then I'm like, when I need it, and then I use it. And then at least I have a little bit of knowledge and then I make up the rest. But experience, nobody can take it from you, you know. And I did all the legwork, which a lot of times, you know, the commission was 12 grand plus a 5,000 bonus. And I remember getting like $1,200.
Wow. And the same thing.
Crazy. It's crazy. Yeah. But now I'm like, look at me and then look at him. Not to say anything bad about anybody, but I'm like, experience, nobody can take it from you. And I really feel the biggest misconception is people make it look like it's so easy, right? And like even new people, I'm like, you shouldn't be worried about your commission. All you should be worried about is learning, how do I get my first deal? How do I go about the process effectively, efficiently, and protect my client, which is what we're there to do. Look out for their best interests. But going from one transaction, I would say, to 5, you have a gist of what's happening. Me, after 1, I feel like I was like, done, got it. You know, that's why like now I'm like, people, I don't know if it's that they don't care to know or they don't care to do their own due diligence, but everybody thinks it's so easy. And then they're like, no, I want full comp. And I'm like, you don't even know what you're doing. Like I have to spend my time helping you, which I'm sure you ran into this with your team, where people think it's so easy, but they don't realize really
they
what it takes.
They want to get like compensated so much, but it's like, okay, like, do you even know what you're doing?
Yeah, well, you need my help.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So now, teams. I know obviously you're super successful, you know, which I admire a lot about you, because keeping your production up and leading people at the same time is really hard, which we've talked about this in private. It's an extremely difficult thing to do, because normally if your production is high and you get a team, you get distracted, you get sidetracked, and then your production starts to drop. And doing both successfully is really a lot of work. It's very hard. It's very hard. So what would you say has been your biggest struggle with like team building, and like what's your biggest advice? Because I know everybody wants a team, and I sit with people, I'm like, look, it looks like X, Y, and Z. It's not that easy. I know it looks more beautiful than it actually is. But what is like your advice to people with building a team, and how do you keep your production up while helping other people under you produce?
Yeah, I mean, many people want to have a team, but I mean, you have to understand too, like if you can't, well, I'm saying for me too, but you're going to work with different personalities. So if you don't even know how to control your emotions, you know, sometimes it's very tough with dealing with teams too, because you may think things are going to be done this way and you think they understand, but probably they don't understand because everyone learns differently. So I guess you have to be patient. But of course, I think it's very important to set boundaries up front.
Yeah.
And I think that's very important too. And I think I need to work on that still too.
Boundaries.
Yeah, boundaries. Because, I mean, when I started, no one like would help me, and then sometimes I'm like, oh, like, you know, I want to help, I want to be bad. Like motherly, like help, like, you know, those are my children, you know, but I'm like, I can't do that because then I'm just babying them.
Enabling.
Yeah,
that's right.
Yeah. So I mean, I would just say, I mean, of course I tell myself, regardless, like if I have a team, I pretend it's like I don't have a team, because at the end of the day, you know, I have to work hard, and if I want to make money, I'm going to figure out a way. Right. I don't want to just depend on my team's production, because at that point, what am I showing them to as well?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, you have to lead by example. And I think to be a good leader, there's no other way, because my husband says this all the time. People are not going to do what you tell them to do. They're going to do what they see you doing, which is also like your kids. Think about it. You could tell your kids all day not to do something, but if you do it on the daily, eventually they're going to be like, well, you do it too, mom or dad, and for me, I'm like, I have this one on the way who she's due on Valentine's Day. And then I have Italia in Berlin. So 5 and then 3. Berlin is already 3. It's insane how fast time goes by. And it's very important for me to, because I'm a workaholic, to have that balance, which you never really find balance. People ask me, how do you do everything? And I'm like, well, I do my best to be a good example to my kids.
You just do it.
Right. And then you just do it. Because there's just the excuse of, oh, I didn't have time or this. No, you didn't plan your day out properly. And I know you don't have kids, you are married, but I don't know if you ever plan to have kids.
Yeah, I do want to have kids, maybe like in 2 years.
You're super young.
Yeah. I think probably too, I've never said this. I don't know, like, I know I shouldn't say this, but probably like, I feel like, and I'm grateful, of course, because my mom had me and my dad, regardless of situation, but I like to plan things out, I guess. It could be good or bad, the control freak in me, but I don't know. I just feel like if this time around I have the opportunity to choose what I want,
Well, to set yourself up to win, you know, and it's not exactly saying exactly at 31 or 35 I'm going to have kids.
Yeah.
Like me at 30, when I found out I was pregnant, I was like, oh my God, I cried for like an hour.
Really?
And then he went and locked himself in the bathroom, and we were both kind of like, shoot, because we're so used to our freedom and working all the time, and literally that's all we do, like work and have fun. Work, go out to dinners, maybe we used to go out before a lot. You get over that.
You still
stage.
go out and you have
right
fun, but now of course you do it differently.
Exactly. And now I enjoy like the dinners, or like, let's go get a massage, or more things that as you evolve through life. But it was definitely like, it is, you're not for only yourself anymore and him. It's like now you have a little creature that you're fully responsible for raising and giving their best shot at life, which we didn't have, so for me, I'm like, I want to be a good mom. I want to make sure my kids have all the opportunities I didn't have without enabling them. Because a lot of parents, you think you're doing your kids something good, like a service, but you're really enabling them to not know how to live without your protection. And you have to let them be their own little person with a little bit of guidance. My kids are very independent. Both of them.
I know, I could tell.
Right, super independent, but they know that there are little rules they have to follow. Obviously, daddy does whatever they want, but especially with Italia, she's obsessed with her dad. They're like
best friends,
besties. Yeah, it's the cutest thing ever. And I'll be honest, girls, women
they're
out there,
obsessed with their dad.
Well, not only that, I was a little concerned. I'm like, shit. Did I pick the right guy he's not a bad guy, but we used to like party a lot, work a lot. He's very extreme. I'm very extreme. And you want to make sure you pick
at least
a good
someone
father for your kids. Exactly. So I remember at one point I was like, man, I hope I didn't make a mistake by picking, like when I found that I was pregnant. Like I had a little bit of doubt of like how he would be as a father, really. And I know it sounds bad because you have to be patient, and he is the most patient, the most loving, the most amazing father ever. And I'm like, oh, thank you, God, because that would have been the worst thing that you could do for your children. Think about it. Because I'm not super patient. Obviously, I save a lot of patience for my kids, but I'm like, I want them to have a loving dad that they know is going to have them no matter what, which is exactly what he's proving, because, everybody's different. And it doesn't matter if you have 50 kids or 2 kids or no kids, like you're still your own person, and like for me, I was like, man, but now I'm like, oh, okay, good. What I
Relief. Let me have the 3rd baby.
Oh my God, I know. And we wanted a boy so bad, but kids are the biggest blessing ever. And really at 30, I'm like, man, I do want a boy. I still want a boy. We're going to have to buy him. I wanted a boy. Well, the first one
you guys have to try again.
No, unless you're gonna babysit.
If she has it, she'll get hot again. We'll do it again.
Wow. No. Anyway, so kids are literally, it's the best thing ever. I can't explain it. And especially if you're well off. He was like, Syl, why are you crying? Like we can afford a nanny.
Yeah.
He's like, and I was like, okay. And we like called his dad right away before we started getting ideas, and let them know we were pregnant, just because we didn't want to, you never know.
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't want to start thinking like abortion or anything like that, because at the end of the day, if not now, when? It's never the perfect time. You kind of just have to go with the flow. You know, and for me, I'm like, man, I would have even now waited till 32. I'm 36, and this pregnancy has been super, super challenging for me. But you just adapt, and they're like your little, it's like a little
Mini
puppy.
me.
Yeah, it's
You
so
said
cute.
little puppy.
Like they're so cute, and you're fully responsible for them. It's just amazing. Like, it really is, especially if you're both on the same page. And
Well, I would love to be your kid.
but anyway, yeah, so enough of the kid talk. So as far as real estate goes, what's like the biggest advice to someone getting started off that you would give? Because, you know, I know what I would say to someone brand new. What about you? Because I didn't also...
I think I'll probably say the same thing as you. I would just say be coachable, and then of course, like how you said, don't really pay attention what you're gonna make. You want to grasp all the value you can from that person, and of course, but you want to be giving something to in return, because many people want to grab so much information, and it's like, it's not that we expect anything, but at least like, what are you gonna bring value to my life too as well?
Right. It's a two-way street.
It's a two-way street.
Yeah. And I would just say, like you said, focus on learning, because experience nobody can take from you. Knowledge nobody can take from you. You know, and then be willing, I think, to do a little bit more than what you're paid to do, because that's when you really become
like, don't do the bare minimum. That's when people are wrong.
Right.
Wanting to do bare, oh, I don't want to go show the house. I'm just gonna go make this. Like, oh, I don't want to do that lease. Like,
I'm like, wait, what? Like, what do you mean? You know, you
like,
have to,
it's about creating relationships. Like, I don't want to do leases too, but I know, like, if they bought properties with me and I, you know, like, if I help them lease them out, like, eventually they're gonna use me in every real estate need. And like, you know, wherever the property is, if they're investors, like, they're gonna end up buying with me.
Right.
They see how hard I work. They could trust me with anything.
Well, the experience is everything. The customer experience is everything. Because you might be a little more expensive, let's just say, but your service will speak for itself. And experience, the way something makes you feel is everything. Because there's two realtors. Why me? Or why pick a certain realtor, right? And that's when you sell your value to people. And the end result, which is buying or selling successfully without as many bumps in the road as possible. So definitely, you know, put in the work, be patient, be willing to learn, be coachable. Same as you. Because me, I didn't have anybody either, you know, but I'm a very fast learner.
Yeah.
And if I don't
I'm not. But I feel like I try to push myself to become
which is
one.
good.
Yeah.
That'll make up for
I
that.
admit I'm not. But I try to, like, okay, like, I'll look at it twice or 3 times. I'm like, visual. Okay. All right.
Got it.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're like, understood.
Or like with the contracts, because a lot of new people, they don't like it's serious. Like, you really need to learn how to read a contract.
Right.
And it's like, yes, someone could read it with you, but it's like, you can't be asking let's say I'm not going to call you every 5 seconds. Oh, how do I do the contract? Like, you're going to teach me one time, print it out, read it on your own, and then get back to me if it's really emergency. Like, I always try to call you, like, if I really can't. Like, if it's bad.
Which is good.
And that's how I always tell you, oh, I'm so sorry I'm calling you, because I'm like, I don't want to bug her.
And you never bug me. Like, you have the results, you know, and I would rather, because we've gotten into quite a bit of messes because someone didn't reach out in time where I could have fixed it, or we could have, you know, I could have given you the right answer to handle your client or the situation. Things get nasty really fast in real estate, especially when someone's not happy. So I don't mind you ever calling me. You know that. Like, it's the people that don't do anything, that ask the same thing 20 times. And I'm like, we talked about this last time. That's why I like to teach people actively on an actual file. Because I feel like that's the best way to learn and coach someone, when you actually have to be put through the experience, rather than, this is how you feel in RPA. It's good to have basic knowledge, but the real learning comes when you're in the transaction, actively working with your clients.
Yeah.
You know, and I think checklists are super helpful. I write everything down, you know, but put in the work, be patient, you know, and don't expect everything to happen overnight. Because even Albert and myself, it took year after year, and it just kept getting more and more and more and more. Our database clientele kept growing and growing, but our main focus was amazing customer service and always looking out for the client's best interest.
Yeah, and like, people love to take shortcuts. So there's no shortcuts in life. Like, People always
None.
want to say, oh, what do you do? There's like literally nothing, like nothing crazy. Like you just have to work. There's no secret. And I feel like people always want to take shortcuts or just like, burn bridges and stuff like that. Like that's just
Right.
not going to get you anywhere.
Nowhere. Nowhere. And the results you're getting are based on the work you're putting in. Like we tell everybody in the company the same things I tell you. Like I always say, hey, if you need me for something, like to post something, like always text me. Because
Hmm.
I'm the worst at like DMs, because I'm always like caught
No,
up with
I
my
know. I mean,
texts.
you're busy, of
Right.
course.
But I'm like, if you need me, I'm here. Just like everybody else. Like, I'm here for you. Just let me know what you need. And if I can help you, I'm here to help you.
Mhm.
But there's just people that are entitled or they expect a certain treatment. And I'm like, everybody's
That's where
treated.
you go wrong
Right,
when
right.
you're entitled. I always tell myself, no one knows you fucking anything. Figure it out.
That's the same thing. That's always been my mentality. And I always figure it out. I'm like, okay, I'm going to get to it. And obviously, if I can ask for help, I have no problem
Well,
asking.
yeah, of course, ask for help, but like last resort.
Or like nobody owes you anything.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's just a reality. But so yeah, real estate. I personally love real estate, Monse. Like seriously, like I love homes, and I used to love to go look at homes
Uh-huh.
and the big fancy houses. Like when I got my Supra, and I know you like helping people.
Yeah.
So what is like the number one thing you focus on when you handle a client? I know you're super patient because sometimes I'm like, she's so composed and so chill. I get a little more annoyed with things, or maybe I'm more
I mean, I
expressful.
do, but I just try to
You're
keep
like
it
super
in.
mellow.
No, I know I'll be like, ugh, like in my head, but I'm like, okay, like,
How do I fix it?
yeah, how do I fix it? Not with clients, but just like,
In
even
general.
like other agents. Like, come on, like, you've been in the business for 20 years, or they like try to say, oh, you've been in business. Like, that doesn't matter. Like, get it together.
Right, right.
Yeah, I mean, I would just say, I mean, I'm very patient, but of course, I like to educate the client as well, too. And at the same time, I tell them, like, okay, I'm going to help you, but at the same time, like, we're not here. I'm here to meet your goals. So I need, I want to find what your realistic timeline is. If we're not here to waste time, like, I'm not going to waste your time and don't waste mine. Like,
Right.
setting boundaries. I do set that. Sometimes, like, my agents on my team, like, oh my God, I can't believe. Like, no, you have to set boundaries or else they're
Mhm.
going to run over. Like, sometimes I'll tell clients, okay, we're going to see 5 houses. Based on what you told me, okay, these meet the criteria. Before we go, I see you added one. Are you open? You told me that you're not interested in that area. So, like, just like, so they
Getting
know we're not wasting time. And at the same time, it affects them too.
right. And narrowing it down is important because time is very valuable.
Yeah.
And a lot of people don't actually value their time, which is sad. Once you realize that you are out of time, that happens really fast, and
That's scary.
it
That's
is
the
scary
thing.
getting to the finish line and being like, man, what was it of
What
my
did I
life?
do?
Right. That's why now I focus so much. It's something that I made a decision this year. I was like, I'm not no longer here for
To
is
make
that
people happy.
person right or like going too much above and beyond for people because at the
People
end of the
don't
day
appreciate it.
they don't appreciate it. Some will, most won't because it's expected. And making myself happy first. I've always been a super happy person. Like I
Mhm.
just like have I call it a bubble that I live in, and I create my own results for exactly where I'm going, what I'm doing, and who I want to be around because I'm I'm not like a faker. Like it's very hard for me to pretend like I like you. I'll be cordial and I'll be nice,
Mhm.
but it'll never be like like super fake people that are like
Mhm. Mhm.
and then they turn around and they're like the complete opposite. I'm like,
Mhm.
why? Like imagine how exhausting it would be to pretend to be someone else
Mhm.
all the time.
That's horrible.
It is horrible. To me, I'm like, hey, I'm gonna be super professional with you, but like we're not gonna go anywhere after work or things like that. Like I don't want to have to pretend to do those things because I feel like I have to anymore.
Yeah, no, that makes sense.
Just like events and things. I'm like, I just used to invite everybody, and I'm like, you can't even really connect with the people you want to connect with because you feel like you have to invite all these extra people that probably won't be here a year from now or so. And now I'm like, I want to make me happy. I want to enjoy 30 minutes with Monse, with whomever is there at my events because we're connecting and we're bonding and actually
Yeah.
spending that quality
And there's
time.
nothing wrong with that. You just want to hang out with quality people that
Right.
respect you and respect your boundaries.
Right. But you know how people get.
Mhm.
It is hard.
I think,
People,
yeah, I mean, it's harder for you though because you are leading a big company
Yeah.
and there's a lot of agents. So, I mean,
Right.
But if people don't see
You
how we see it, like, oh, she's just busy, it's nothing personal, but
right.
people,
Well, it never is personal, but
but people see it like
right,
personal.
right. So that's always, hard. Me and Albert are very selective with our time and the people we're around just because we want to go home to our kids. And you'll see when you have your kids, it's like you don't have an extra hour to waste on.
To talk about nonsense.
Right, right. Things that could be avoided with a simple communication, which communication is really important, whether in real estate or in your personal life. It's just in general something that a skill that not a lot of people know how to handle effectively, as crazy as that sounds. Basic communication, it's like an open line of two people communicating back and forth, and if that communication is broken, I took a class on it. It's basic stuff, but it's so
It makes a difference.
huge difference, and like Albert says, you have to lead people differently. I'm super impatient. So I'm like, okay, let's go, guys. Like, and he's just like, Syl, you can't treat everybody the same. I'm like, I know, but I'm trying to make it easy for them with like checklists and this. And we do a huddle and a game plan. Everyone's just different. So I'm kind of learning to, I don't want to say lay off a little bit, but just not care so much where I'm like driving my own self crazy.
I try to be like that too, but when I don't, it goes wrong.
Exactly.
So then I get more, I'm like, oh, I tried to not be so controlling for once.
More
And
frustrated.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to ask you a question.
Ask me.
Who's your favorite agent in the whole
Oh
company?
my God. Well, I have a couple favorite agents, but my favorite ever, I don't know. I don't know that I have a favorite ever. There's a lot of people that I love in the company. Once I like
Agents, not lenders.
not lenders. Well, you're one of them. There's a lot of people that I like. I don't know, but I love you.
Mhm.
I don't want to say you're my favorite because there's going to be a lot of people mad at me. But there's just people you get along with better. Like, I like to not
Yeah.
have to feel like, oh my God, did I say something that's going to bother this
Yeah.
person?
Favorite girl agent.
Shut
Me.
up.
I'm kidding.
She's
Your
on me.
favorite guy agent.
There isn't any.
Ryan.
Oh,
No, I don't.
Ryan.
I love
Jared.
Jared. I love.
we're
There's a lot-
joking.
We're joking, but there's just people that are good people. Like, I like to know that I can trust people, because it is hard in this industry. You say something and then it gets passed around and then it just turns into something completely different. And I'm like, I don't want to be part of anything like that. Like, I just like the people that are straight up, honest, no gossip, no drama, and again, if you need me, we're here. But it's really hard to find. People love gossip. They love drama.
Well,
They thrive on it, and then I'm like, that's why you're not focused on your production, because whatever you focus on, that's what grows. Whether you're focused on what is my MMAs, like what are going to be my money making activities, what does my schedule look for, like for the week, my power schedule, like how am I going to get to my goals, and that's really what I like to focus on with people. But even with your team, I'm sure you run out of time and there's so much more you want to do, but there's only so much time in a day.
Yeah, that's true. I have a question for you.
What is it?
Where do you see the company in 5 years?
Well, we're hopefully going to be selling and exiting out, because it's honestly been such a long journey. We've been doing this like 14 years already. It's crazy.
And people think like you just created Ambience like 2 years ago.
Right. And it's a lot. And it was just me as a solo agent. And I'm telling you, Monse, I'm the type of person, if I can get it done today, I'll be here till, if I had no kids, I don't know, I probably would sleep here. Now that we have a gym and locker
I know
rooms,
you would.
I would, because I get stuck. Like, that's why at home I don't like to go on the computer, because I'll be up till 3 a.m.
I know,
even
I'm the
pregnant.
same way.
Like, I'm just like, one more thing, and I just keep going and going and going. But I started off just as an agent. He was a lender, and then we just kept growing. But we've been doing the same things for 14 years now. Now it's on a bigger scale. But I'm able to look back because we have a lot of content, and when I sit with the marketing guys, like, I don't mind doing every job. I don't care. Like, I don't care about titles or all that stuff. I'm like, it needs to get done. That's just the bottom line. And to look back and be like, even 10,000, you went to
Yeah, I
10,000
think,
a
yeah,
couple
when I
times.
barely joined the company, I
Right.
remember.
Right. So I remember like the meetings we used to have, but it was just like in that conference room.
Yeah, I remember.
And it's just like, I'm like, now it's bigger, but it's like we've been doing the same thing over and
Over and
over.
over.
Obviously, we're improving and we're getting better because we are big on self-improvement. And we used to go to a ton of seminars, like a ton, like all the time. And he's very good at building relationships with people that help us kind of level up. Because for me, I'm like, if I'm not going to learn anything from you, or I really enjoy your company, or we can mastermind and do things together to create, I don't want to be with you. I'd rather be at
There's
my
nothing
house.
to talk about.
Right. And I would rather be at my house laying in bed with my kids. Like,
Right.
that's just the reality of it, you know? But I do really think that and believe that in 5 years, we're going to have a ton of agents, and not just any agents, because, you know, we're very selective about who we let in. Quantity is not better than quality. So we would rather have less with higher production, you know, because it takes a lot of work on coaching people, guiding people, doing masterminds, like these hours that we spend with people to teach them how to do certain things, learn certain skills that they don't really teach you in other real estate companies. You know, we work on everything with people, because you think about your personal life, how much that trickles into your business life, and how much it actually affects the outcome of the results that you want if you're not in a good place in your personal life.
So when you exit out the company 5 years, I mean, what do you see you would be doing in that time?
You know, I've always,
I know your whole life is real estate, so it's like, what is
that's all
Sylvia
I
after
know. Right.
without real estate?
Like, there's just so many things that I really, really love. Like, I love photography. I love fashion. I don't know. I would like to start dabbling in other like industries. A fashion line for sure. I've always wanted a clothing line. Albert knows this. But you know, we only have so much time in a day.
Yeah.
And for me, I'm like, I need to have that time with my kids, my family. Obviously, like, you know, we do a lot of business stuff with our people from the company, and people that I enjoy being around, you know, but I don't know. I would like to get into something like creating something like art or like fashion, or maybe both. I don't know. I don't know. Like, and I love like dancing. I love traveling. I love photography, like creative things like that. So I don't know. I don't. Oh, well, obvio, but that's just gonna be part of it. Definitely, I want to be like traveling all over.
Yeah, of course.
Being like super hot. Living my best life with good people that I really enjoy having around, you know, because it takes a long time, Mom said. Like, people look at us and they're like, oh my God. And I'm like, no, it's been 1 to 14 years of like literally busting our butts for that long, probably 365 days a year. Like, even, you know, you go on a vacation, you're still working, semi-working.
Yeah, you're not really fully off.
Fully off ever, you know, but you're working on offers, answering your team, things like that. We were answering our clients. But that's the beauty of real estate and mortgage. You can still take care of your clients from afar. You're open escrows. Obviously, you can't show homes, but you get my point. That's what you build a team for.
Right.
So I love traveling too. But after like 4 days, I'm over it. I'm like, okay, I want to go back home.
You like to work?
I like to work. I like my life. I love my gym. I'm excited to get back into the gym. But I don't know. Everyone's just different. I don't know what makes you like super happy. And you know, I've questioned this, and I haven't said this publicly, but maybe the last 4 months of 2022 and like all of January. Well, it's still January. Technically, today's the last day. It's just been like a weird last 6 months, you know, where we've had to deal with a lot of like just people, like messed up people, right? And I'm like, no, that person would never do that, because we would never do something like that. And just dealing.
That's how. That's
the hard part.
Like how you always say, people are people.
People are people.
That's the worst, because it hurts more, because you're like, oh.
Right. It just I'm already used to it. Like, really, at this point, I'm immune to bullshit, to people backstabbing us, not appreciating what we did because it's expected, right? But I'm like, the grass is not greener on the other side. And I know for a fact 70-80% of those people regret it for sure, because I know what we do for people that we don't have to do those things. You know, we're really there for people if they really need us. Not just like, some people are just drama, but just when you see how quickly people will just backstab you, I'm like, man, it's crazy. Like, it
Mm-hmm.
makes me kind of sad, but I'm like, I know we're going to be fine. And
Mm-hmm.
I know we're always going to continue on our way up
Right.
while people get left here and then keep going down from there. Because whatever energy you put out is what you get back. Like that's why him and I have always been good, Monse. Like even during a shifting market, like I'm like, I know we're gonna be good because I believe in my abilities and his abilities to
Right.
always make things happen and put in the work required and never like what is it? Never like retract. We're always like
Pushing forward,
pushing forward,
never looking
pushing
back.
forward.
Yeah.
And bringing people with us that are interested in that same kind of life because life is beautiful. You should build a life you're proud of,
Mm-hmm.
a life you're actually happy living.
Not to take a
And
vacation.
right. And for like the last, it's just been like so much like bullshit and drama. And I'm like, you know what? I'm not entertaining any of it anymore. Like, I'm not. You want to be here? Great. You don't want to be here? Wonderful. Have a good life. I'm okay with that because we're so busy. I only have time for the people in my life and literally my immediate family. But most of my brothers and sisters either work for the
Yeah, so
company.
you always see them.
So I always see them. I have my little grandma, and other than that, I'm like, I just want to be around people that I know appreciate me, that I care about, and that's it. Everybody else, I'm still here for you, but I'm not going to be as available.
Mm-hmm.
And really, like, not let those things stress me out. Because me, like you, I'm a control freak. I like to make sure everything's perfectly organized, everything's flowing, we have our events, and you see how much we do. It's like
A
Monday through
lot.
Sunday, we're
Like you don't
packed.
have to do anything of that. Like
Right, but then I'm
like
like,
brokers, they don't do nothing.
Right.
Other companies.
right. So
I
anyway,
think you're just naturally like that though. You give a lot without nothing in return. That's just how your personality is.
yeah, but it's a good feeling. I would rather be that than go to bed at night.
And then that's their problem
Mhm.
if they do otherwise.
But imagine going to bed and not liking the person that you are or what you do. Like that must be a horrible feeling. Think about it. Like me, I'm like, I don't have to be fake. If you don't like my opinions, that's fine. I respect your opinion. You should respect everybody's opinions. We all have different ways of living, believing. Like to me, I'm like, come on, think about it, Monse. Walking into a store and then being able to buy whatever the hell you want because you work so damn hard, it's a good feeling.
It's amazing.
And I know you can do that. But we're also I'm very resourceful. Like I'd rather have more money in my bank
I'm
than
the same way.
material things,
I
but
feel
I love.
bad. I'm like, oh, I don't want to buy certain things even though I deserve it. But I'm like, I can invest my money somewhere.
Like in real estate. So if
Yeah.
you guys need real estate, let us know. I bought a 4-unit. That was my first property because I'm telling you, I love real estate, Mom. So like, I'm obsessed with like real things because I like money and I never want to be broke again ever in my whole entire life. It's the worst feeling ever. Like now it's like it feels so good. We were at dinner last night. He took me to get a massage because we rarely can leave this office like before 7, like ever.
I'm sure.
It's just nonstop. And then he's like, so I have to do this. He switched the schedule up a little bit. So he's like, I don't know why we left early. Oh, no, he's like, hey, let's go get a massage. I'm like, okay. I'm literally about to have her. So a couple of days, 14 days. And if she comes on her due date. So we're getting a massage at the Beverly Hills Hotel. Normally we go to Bel Air. And then we're going to have dinner after. And there's this guy. I got his card. He's doing, what is that called, babe? They just like, they're like singers, like artists.
They play the piano and sing.
Right.
Oh.
But he was so good. Like his music, I was like sitting there.
Oh,
like,
relaxing.
It was so amazing. All the music he was playing. And like this guy walks by, gives him $20, and then Albert's like, watch this. Because he was really good. So he gives him 100, and like the look on his face, you don't know how much a person might need $100. Like to me, $100 is like $1 now. I'm sure to you it's like it's just $100. Like it's barely enough for gas these days, guys. So his face, like you could just tell he was so grateful. It was weird. And I'm like, man, that you can do that for people. And we do that all the time if they earn it. Because I think a good attitude is the one thing that will get you ahead of a lot of people in this world. That is more important sometimes than a degree. That's going to open more doors than a degree. College doesn't guarantee that you're going to make a lot of money, nor that you're even going to be able to cover your student debt. Even nonetheless, ever get out of your student debt. Think about that. A lot of people, because that's what we're taught to do. But then what if you just decided to take a chance, maybe make 30 grand your first year, 60 grand, and then go up from there if you do a great job, and take a chance on yourself and what you're doing and how much you're willing to put in to get that in return, than to go to college because it's what we're told to do. So
And then
after,
just live a life just because that's what you know and you're comfortable
right,
with.
right.
That's
But
scary.
it is scary. But there's so many opportunities everywhere. We give equity to people in our companies because I know where we're taking them, right? And it's like, think about it. Even if you have 1% of something that sells for 250 million, 1 billion, 700 million, you get my point? Like a
Mm-hmm.
percentage or 2 or 5 or 10 of that is a lot of money.
Mm-hmm.
And it's something that we do for people that earn it.
I was telling my husband what you guys, he's like, wow, that's amazing. Like, even if they would give someone 0.5%, like, people don't understand, like, that's so powerful. People don't do that.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, because our companies are on the way up.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's a lot of work. It's
Yeah.
all self-funded.
Yeah.
Everything. We make money, we reinvest it into the company, and you just keep growing. It's just levels,
Yeah.
So for me, I was like, okay, let's do it, and whoever wants to come goes, and we'll have basic instruction of or guides, lawyers, mentors. You never really have it right, but look at Bobby Castro and Sophia. Like,
We'll talk
who?
about Miami move.
Oh yeah,
Because
who?
Miami, like when we sell the company in Florida.
Yeah, that's
there's
what I
no
wanted to.
taxes. So like 10% of 250 million is 25 million bucks.
That's
You just get a
crazy.
check every
Wow.
time.
Isn't that interesting? Yeah, that's why we're probably gonna end up in Florida part time.
We have to.
We have to before we exit out. So it's just things, but I'm like, I need to keep building good leaders below us so they could build more leaders, because it takes a good leader to build more leaders below those
Mhm.
leaders. It's like a chain reaction.
Well, yeah. Good quality
But it's a
people.
lot of work, Monse, and this is what I'm saying. We give people the information, and either you keep up and you keep growing, or you stop growing, and it's okay, because like we were talking about it even yesterday with the attorneys, and I'm like, some people contribute in different ways, right? Like, obviously you have your own production, but the more people you recruit, the more people you build below you. Like, it just turns into this like chain reaction, like a snowball effect.
Mhm.
And business is crazy. Like, there's a lot of expenses people don't look at: attorney fees, litigation. There's just so much. It goes on and on and on, and you never stop learning,
Right.
because you hire better people, but there's always
Of course.
challenges.
Yeah.
Right. There's always challenges. And just like people come and go, the good ones stay. Sometimes they decide to do something different. But I'm like, I want all the good ones, because nothing feels better, Monse, than like having everybody like, hey, we're taking off. We're going to go to Puerto Rico. We're going to go to Miami.
Yeah.
Pack your bags. And us
Yeah.
entrepreneurs, we
Yeah,
can do
yeah,
that.
yeah.
I choose not to lately because we've been so busy. But I'm like, after this baby, normally I go somewhere for New Year's. I'm like, I don't want to be, if I can't ski, I'll just be in my house. I love where
Yeah.
I live. It's super relaxing. It feels like I'm somewhere else. And I rarely get to spend a lot of time at home. So for me, I'm like, let's just stay, and then we'll go somewhere after the baby. But it feels good to be like, hey, owners, let's roll. Like, we're going to go for a week to wherever. You
Right.
jump on a jet and you get there, and you just have a blast. Like,
Yeah.
it feels good to be able to do that for people. And again, I feel that's something that we've also done too soon for some people that maybe didn't quite deserve it yet. But I'm like, why not? Like, we can do it. Why wouldn't we? Like, and you give everybody the benefit of the doubt.
And maybe you were the opportunity for them to have that opportunity. Maybe they
Right.
won't ever do it again in their life.
Yeah, most of them won't. No, it's a reality, because most of them won't.
It's
Yeah.
$150,000 round trip to go to the East Coast. Round trip.
Insane.
Imagine Miami. I told him I'm gonna have a
I know.
girls'
I
trip.
looked it up.
Yeah, it's
It's
expensive.
expensive as hell.
Well, because it's the comfort you're
Talk
paying
about what
for.
John Maxwell told you. What he told me about leadership. How you just keep giving, and then some people will pay off, some people won't.
Yeah, he has a podcast. If you guys follow Driven Channel, I like to go on there, hop on, because we're all different. We all have different experiences, but this is what I tell you that I learned from everything. John Maxwell is top in leadership. He's amazing. He has tons of books on leadership. He's the best in his industry. And he just talks about how you just keep being you, because at one point I'm like, Albert, do we keep doing all this for people when most of them don't appreciate it? He's like, well, we're going to keep doing what we do, because that's what we do, and it's what we're here for, and it's what we're about. So John Maxwell said it's okay. You just keep doing what you're doing. Some people will stay. So a lot of them will regret not being in your life. Some people you have to leave behind, pick them up
And there's
later.
nothing wrong with that.
And there's nothing
that
wrong with that.
Unfortunately, they just won't come in your
Right,
your
right,
mission.
right. But he also said that, it's kind of like injecting, like having a good leader is important. Because even for me, sometimes I'm like, fuck, Albert, are we good? Is everything going to be okay? And he's like, everything's fine. And, we talk and we have our meetings. And as a couple and business owners, think about it. We're married, we have kids, and we have businesses together. So it is a lot. Rarely, sometimes I'm like, dude, we don't get to talk because we're back to back to back to back to back. When he's not knocking out with the girls, I'm like doing things and come back to, like, it's crazy how it works. And we just do our best, Monse. That's it. Every day we do our best. We show up. We never give up. And he tells me like we're good or we're in a little bit of trouble. We have to fix this.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, okay. And then we come up with the game plan. Like we get along pretty good, even though sometimes he annoys me. It's normal, but we're a great team, and I couldn't ask for a better person because we're both super extreme. I don't know what your dynamic is with your husband, but he seems more chill.
Yeah, but I feel like I'm extreme too. So sometimes I need someone to kind of put me in my place a little bit. Yeah.
Good.
Yeah. Because I feel like no one really could put me. Well, it's not like he puts me in my place, but he's like, okay, you need to chill. He
balances you.
Like, you need to chill.
Yeah, no, he was so nice. I was so happy to meet him at our Christmas party.
He said you're so sweet.
Yeah, he was really nice.
He's like, she's a good person. What do you want to know?
Where'd you meet him?
Okay. Huh? Yeah, he didn't meet him at the event.
Well, Albert was over there with all the girls.
I didn't want to bother you. I actually met him. So crazy. I actually met him at this place called The Room in West Hollywood.
The Room?
Yeah, I don't think it exists anymore though. It's like a lounge or something. But I didn't like him at the beginning. He's so persistent. Like, oh, no, I'm going to hang out with you. I want to take you out. And I'm like, ugh, he's so annoying. And I was like talking shit in Spanish. I'm like, este que molesta. But he speaks Spanish. So he was
lying.
Yeah. So he speaks Spanish, French, and then Arabic and Moroccan. So I was like talking shit. He's like, you're very difficult because I didn't want to give him my number and stuff. I'm like, well, that's how I am.
And he liked it.
Yeah, I guess follow up is key, right? It's like with anything in life, like in business. Yeah. Literally 10 times. I was like, You're so annoying.
You gave him your number then?
No, I was like, well, I'll see. I said, well, I'll see. I'll pencil you in to see if I have time. Keep in mind, I barely started real estate. I was into closing shit. So I had time.
Wow. You totally had time. But you never say you don't.
Right. Of course. So, yeah.
I mean,
he does e-commerce, but he wants to do real estate too with me.
Oh, really? Imagine if he's really good.
Yeah, he knows. Yeah, I told because he speaks Arabic and French. So I said, well, you can help me reach that market, luxury market. So a lot of people,
And they're more comfortable working with someone.
Yeah. So I had a client actually. I got an online lead. This guy wanted to buy a $1.5 million house, and he was Middle Eastern, and he wanted me to show him the house, literally pick him up. It was so weird. So I'm like, well, I don't feel, I've never met you. I don't want to pick you up. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to pick you up. So I'm like, okay, this guy has money. So I told my husband, I was like, well, you're going to drive me and we're going to go. So I'm going to pull up and he's going to think I'm going to show him the house. He thinks I'm going to come by myself. And I guess he was speaking to him Arabic the whole way. So the guys, they feel more comfortable.
Got it. Yeah, that would be, it always works, especially when, you're on the same wavelength.
Yeah.
And then he'll really understand what you do. Yeah. And I'm sure he does.
No, he supports me a lot. Albert was asking me the other day, oh, is he jealous? I'm like, no, not at all. He understands. When he met me, I just set boundaries from the beginning. This is what I do. Either you like it or not. This is how I am.
Nice.
So he understands.
It's important. It's very important to be on the same page with your spouse.
Because most people, they'll date other people, in other industries, and they won't understand. So it's
and they're giving them shit all the time.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, and it's I'm if you're if I hang out with you guys, I'm working, he understands, doesn't mean I'm doing nothing, bad. Right. I'm just working. And I feel if you set that up front, it shouldn't be an issue,
If you have those boundaries from the beginning,
Well, yeah, it's
Right.
very important.
It's so true. See,
Before you go close out, quick question from Monse. Like I know you have a lot of cash in the bank. I don't
wow.
know if you want to say more or less how
I'm
much
not
you
gonna
have.
say how
No, she doesn't want
much.
I
anybody
know
to
you have a
know.
good number. Like what advice do you give to other agents on how they should do that? Because most agents are paycheck to paycheck and they're broke, and then they have to get like sometimes they don't have money and they kind of use they open an escrow and they use that money thinking that they're gonna get it next month and then they don't get it sometimes and then they run out of money. How were you able to? And you mentioned about being not too
Living above your means.
yeah,
Yeah.
not too crazy about overspending, which I know you want a Lamborghini, but
I want a
I
four.
know you're gonna get it this year.
Yeah.
But what advice do you give agents so that they're not broke agents, so that they're not just paycheck to paycheck? Because you've built a good, solid savings account. You've told me, but I'm not gonna say it. But like, how'd you get that rich stuff in you?
He's
The rich
crazy, I
juice.
swear. I mean, I let's say for example, like if I'll make like 80 grand, like literally like I'll save half of it. Or like I'm not gonna lie, like, like how you said you where you live, you want to feel like, comfortable.
Right.
That's like your safe space. So I mean, I feel like where you live is very important. So of course I'll pay more. But like I mean, I just say save half of my money and I don't try to live above my means, but I know I want to get a car though, a new one. I could like realistically if I wanted to, I think
Cash.
yeah, like realistically if I wanted to, I could buy a lot of them. But like, it's just I feel like when you're broke, like when I was like really broke, I'm like, oh, I'm gonna buy all these things. I'm gonna get all these designer things and
And
buy all these things.
pretend,
But
right?
yeah, but now when like I'm not saying I have a lot of money, but I'm saying like now it's like they don't really like entice you because like
Right. You're
you
not
could buy as
tempted.
many as you want
Right.
now. So I
Right,
mean, I
right.
would just say like, I mean, I live below my means, but of course I want to get a newer car and stuff like that. Yeah.
When are you getting your Lambo?
Well, I'm gonna go with you. You're the one that's gonna give me advice, right?
When do you want to do that?
Wow, he wants to take you now, Monse, now. No, I'm actually even the same way. See, Albert's the opposite. If he has 100 grand, he'll spend 150 to like throw
Which
in
is
event.
kind of good though.
It is,
that
yeah.
he pushes you.
Right, because I would have just like all my most of my 75% of my money saved. Because really, think about it. If you have $500, you could probably do it for 250, whatever you were gonna do. If you get resourceful.
Yeah, still, but if you study Elon Musk,
I know.
Elon Musk is the wealthiest person in the world. He overspends. When he sold his company, he put all the money on the line and risked it all to get bigger. So like that's
why I need
the
to
dangerous
risk it
people.
all.
The dangerous people, like they overcommit to force them to execute more.
He sold all his money from what is it?
I would never
Pay
be
some-
without money. Horrible.
The company,
Scary.
the first
He sold
company.
a
I
company
know.
to start up Tesla and SpaceX.
So-
and he lived in the office.
Yeah. So what I will say is that when in the beginning you kind of have to take all the risks, and then once you get to another level of wealth, then you take bulletproof risks. Which another relationship that I have, Jesse Itzler told us. Remember, so just
Yeah.
talk about that really
Become
quick.
Bulletproof.
What are like bulletproof risks where you now take risks that are almost guaranteed to succeed?
Well, life is full of levels. It's just levels in life, right? It's like when we started, what we had to do, how was the first year,
You could call any friend
how was the second year.
for $1 million, $5 million,
Right.
$10 million. Hey, can you wire me this amount of money? Yeah, they believe in you because you
wanna
created the
come join
relationships.
our podcast? So, it's like different levels in life, which comes with the learning part of it,
Yeah.
and obviously, like you, it's like, to me, I was happy in my truck and my little beat up Mercedes and my next Mercedes and my Maserati and my S5. I was happy in all my cars, my Camrys, all of them, Altima, like a Maximum or whatever those cars are called. Like I got from A to B, right? Do I like getting out of my Rolls Royce? I
Of
do.
course.
I do. It's beautiful. It's a beautiful car. It just like, I'm like staring at the little stars, and again, it just comes with growth. But for me, living above my means, I would always save half of my checks. And I tell agents this all the time. If you have 10
Well, 'cause
grand,
taxes.
right? Well, not only taxes, Monse, think about it.
Well, yeah, I mean,
You don't go and buy a $5,000
you're
Chanel
self-employed.
purse.
It's not a 9 to 5. Like, you can't be
Exactly.
buying a $10,000 purse if you're only making 20 grand a month.
Right, right.
Well, not even like
People
15
do
grand
that.
a
Well,
month.
people do that.
Once your mic.
Oh,
And that's where it becomes, scary because you need good mentors. But levels in life get you better people. You
Well,
become
yeah.
surrounded by better people. And then you're exposed to like different experiences that you're like, shit, they're just regular people just like me. So if I just follow what they're doing, I'm going to end up somewhere similar to where they are, as long as you keep pushing and you are a good person and you work super hard. And think about it. Being a good person, you put that type of energy out there that it's going to come back. Yeah, people could screw you up. It's okay. They're going to get what they deserve, and you're going to just keep going up in levels. It's
just be
just
the best you can be, and then God
that's
takes
it.
care of them.
Everything else works. It works itself out, So,
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, that's like the best advice we can give you guys. Be around good people. Be a good person. Be a person of good, and things will always work for you, not against you. And sometimes when we think, why is this happening to us? It's for a reason. I've learned to kind of accept weird things that happen because God probably heard conversations that you didn't hear, that you weren't part of, that just needed to get those people out of your life to
Yeah.
clear up the future.
That's what I try to tell myself. This is happening to me because I'm going to another level in my life, and these
Right.
people are not going to come with me in my journey.
Right. They're not coming with you on your journey. And some people will take you here, but they can't take you here, and you might have to leave them here. Doesn't make them bad people, but depending on what you want in life, you have to position everything properly to be able to keep leveling up. And it is, you become a totally, I don't want to say completely different person, but you do evolve, and you're supposed to change. Like I remember I had an employee tell me once, "Oh, well, you changed." I'm like, "You're supposed to change
Of
with me.
course.
You're supposed to change. Like, you want me to be the same person that we were across the street? Like, how does that make sense? I have to have higher standards, and I'm not willing to jeopardize my standards for anybody, and I would never ask somebody to do something that I wouldn't do.
Mm-hmm.
Anything, whatever it looks like. Like, I'm not asking for anything special. It's just changing. Change is good. Most people are scared of change. For me, I'm okay changing as long as we're getting the job done and I'm happy and we're making money, and money's necessary to live.
Do you feel like women evolve more than men?
You know what? I want to say yes and no. It kind of depends on the man, right? And there's a lot
I
of
feel like I change a lot.
You?
I'm like, am I bipolar?
She said my bipolar. No, you know what it is? I think women, we have a different type of intuition, but then also there are some that aren't the brightest, nor the most valuable to a man. Because if you don't pick the right spouse,
Yeah.
you're gonna go downhill quick. And we know
Yeah.
a couple people like this that I'm like, dude, you can't let your girl throw drinks in your face in front of people. That's embarrassing. Like, I would
Over.
never, like, even if I'm mad at him, I never disrespect him. He does piss me off sometimes where I'm like, dude, I'm not playing. Like, this isn't funny. And we're going to talk about it later. I'm going to let it slide right now, but we'll talk about it in private because we have to respect each other. If you have someone that's already trouble from the beginning when they're just dating you, what makes you think that there's a bright future there?
And when
There's
you're
no.
married, it just magnifies it 1,000 times more.
And try having kids with someone that's not on your level or on your page, or at least respects what you're doing as a man. A lot of girls try to get in the way of their guys. I'm like, I'll take your advice, but at the end of the day, like you, I'm like, I have my opinions. I'm hard-headed. I know where I'm going, and it's my way or no way, and we're okay disagreeing with certain things. And a lot of people like get into huge fights. Bobby Castro told us, if it's not worth getting a divorce, don't argue over it. Think about how powerful
That's a good
that is.
advice.
It's
very
so good.
advice.
Because then what? We're going to be making up an hour later? Like, what was the point of all that wasted energy that we could be putting into our business, into a mastermind? Think about it, of how to make more money, how to help more people, how to keep growing. Because if you're not growing, you're literally dying. I don't know if you do a lot of self-improvement, but to me, I'm like, I love learning. Yeah, it's hard to find the time sometimes, but we can always carve out 20, 30 minutes to listen to
A
audio.
podcast, even if you're driving or
Right,
whatever.
right. So I don't know, but yeah, are you big on self-improvement or?
Well, no, I am. Like, of course, not like probably as much as you guys, but before I did real estate, I used to do network marketing. So I used to do a lot of self improvement. You know how they do the seminars, book of the month, or stuff like that.
Yeah,
So, I
yeah.
mean, I try to read, and stuff like that, but I do want to do more self improvement.
Right, right.
Yeah.
It's just making it a habit,
Yeah.
part of your schedule. That's all that it is.
Yeah.
I mean, you're super young, so you have a long way
I
to
have
go.
no excuse.
Right, you don't. But to close out, I mean, any last words you want to tell our audience? Like I said, I'm excited to see your future here with the company and your growth more than anything. And future looks bright, huh? Maybe.
I think
Future
I
looks
am.
bright. Mons is amazing. Like
I
I just
am.
like good people that I feel like I can trust. Your feelings don't get hurt over everything.
Mm.
It's like not every post is about you. You know those people that think everything is about them? I'm like, you're not that important. Nobody was even thinking about you.
I am. I'm manifesting. I know I'm going to be the next co-owner.
So give me last words for our audience here.
Well, I mean, like how we said earlier, with Syl, don't take anything personal and just work hard. If you're doing real estate, do the best you can, and it's not a race. Everyone gets results different, and worry about you. Stop worrying about your neighbor, and yeah, you're gonna have results.
That's right.
Yeah, that's pretty much it.
So we'll see you, and if you guys want to buy a house in LA, OC.
Whatever you want to buy, I'm here to help. They don't
Yeah.
call me your real estate girl for no reason.
That's right.
Where can people follow you, girl?
Your real estate girl here. And then Syl Preciado.
Yeah. See you guys next time. My baby is kicking. Look at her.